Here we go. Good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning today 3 Prakim Rambam. Hilchos Psulei HaMikdashim. Right, the laws of consecrated entities that have become disqualified. Chapters Ches, Tes, and Yud. Now, these 3 chapters are really the Rambam's halachic work on what we refer to as Masechtas Kinin. If you remember, when we learned Gemara in Me'ilah, Daf Chav Beis, after the Gemara actually concludes with Masechtas Me'ilah, but over there in the way we have it formatted in our Shas, so Chav Beis, Chav Gimel, Chav Daled, and Chav Hey Amud Aleph, that is where we learned Kinim, the 3 chapters of Masechtas Kinim. In Pirkei Avos, we have at the end of the 3rd chapter that Kinin Upischei Mida, they are Gufei Halachas, and these were not the easy chapters of Mishnayos to learn. Now, a few words of introduction, and it's kedai when it comes to these Purakim in the Rambam, like we did it when we learned the Mishnayos, to learn them slowly, to work out, to understand what are we talking about. So first of all, as we just learned, when it comes to bird karbanos, there are 2 types, chatos oila. And there is a fundamental different way of offering these 2 karbanos. Let's focus on one difference, and that is that the karbas oilas ha'oif is done on the higher part, on the top of the mizbeach, and the bird chatos is done in the lower part of the mizbeach. Truth be told, there are many other differences, as we just learned. And the key is that if someone did to a bird chatos the avodah of an oila, or if you did to the bird oila the avodah of a bird chatos, that bird is invalidated. The avodah is psul. Furthermore, if you don't know what it is, as we'll see in a moment, you got a problem over here, because if you have something, you can't do the avodah of the oila. If you have a bird that might be an oila, you may not do the avodah of a chatos. Another word of introduction. When people would have to bring karbanos, truth be told, a person is allowed to donate a 1 bird as an oila sa'oif. But generally, when it comes to the people that are obligated to bring bird karbanos, the general rule is that they have to bring a pair, 2 birds, all right, a kan or a cane, it depends how you pronounce it. And these 2 birds, one of them lachatos, one of them la'oil. When are they going to be designated for chatos and oil? There are 2 points. Either when the owner buys them, he can lachatchila buy one, and at the point of purchase designate, you little birdala, you're going to be the oil, the other one is going to be the chatos. Or, and that's called a designated kan, a kan mefoirash, because you designated which one should be which. Or really much better is to leave them undesignated. Yes, it's for this person's choiv, but any one of them can be the chatos, any one of them can be an oila. And when will they then be designated? When the kohen actually does the avodah. But here's the catch. When the kohen does the avodah, when he takes the pair, the moment he does one as, let's say, an oila, that action automatically designates the other one for a chatos. Or if he does one for a chatos, that action then will designate the other one to be an oil. Okay, so I think these are enough words of introduction. Again, we're starting now with the 8th chapter of all these chapters. What will happen if there's going to be a mixture of these birds, as we'll describe? Some scenarios, the halacha will be very straightforward, and sometimes we're going to have to really hold our heads in working out all of the possibilities to appreciate what the halacha is. I do want to say one other word, that if someone has the opportunity, when they're going through these 3 parakim, whether you're learning shloisha parakim or whether you're going to learn this Perek Echad, to go and to listen to the Sechtas Kinim, to our class, to any class, and to learn it properly, you'll get a much greater appreciation for the following. When we learned the Gemara, as we did, we learned Gemara Rashi. And there's many foundational differences between Rashi's understanding of Masechtas Kinim and the way the Rambam, not only over here, the Rambam in his Perush HaMishnayos interprets Masechtas Kinim very different than Rashi. What's really interesting is that when we're going to be going through these 3 chapters, 8, 9, and 10, it's not like the Rambam is always following exactly how we understood the Mishnah as he explained it in Peresh HaMishnayis, there's going to be certain areas that people who are really in the know, how they point out where there appears to be a little bit of a difference between the Rambam here and in the Peresh HaMishnayis. But generally, you will see that the Rambam is not following Rashi's understanding. The Rambam is generally following his understanding of Masechtas Kinim as he explained it with Peresh HaMishnayis. Okay, Perek Shmini, Halacha Aleph. Now here we go. Chatas ha'oif. Once, perfect. Once a bird was designated as a chatos, okay, as we explained, either when the owner bought it, or if you brought the pair to the kohen, and the kohen offered one as an oila, that automatically designated the other one as a chatos. So now you have a designated, many people in English say a specified chatos oif. If it gets mixed in another bird or birds that are oilas oif, or the other way around, and this is not about numbers, about 1 and 1 or 1 and 2. There is no ratio that will be matter, this mixture, even if it is only one bird of one type. Vadai, that gets mixed in riboy, in 10,000 of the other type. So this is a very straight halacha. Kulam yemusu, as we explained in our introduction. Maisa chatas oif, maisa oilas oif are different. You may not do the avoid of one to the other. You may not be pray the birds, as we learned in Hilchas Yisurim Mizbeach, Perek Vav. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. And enough more than that. When we learned that Ein Tamus V'Zachrus B'Oifus, nothing you can do. It's not like it's going to get a blemish. You can't redeem it. So all of them have to die. Okay. Now, so there's no specific way of putting them to death. It's not that we put them into the kippah. Point is that they are kachem mizbeach that may not be used for anything ever, period. Now, as we explained, if when the owner bought it, he didn't buy them stam, which is really the smarter thing to do, but he then designated which one is which. You understand, Yakir? By saying this is the chatas, this is the oila. Aval, however, but if a person, and many people are mechuyev to bring the pair of birds, they bought 2 birds, mehen chatas or mehen oila. Another layer, as we will unpackage when we learn these parakim, starting with Perek Shemini. It was common, Yakir, that when people were mechuyev to bring birds, they didn't bring it right away. Let's say a zav. If a person has this machla becoming a zav, even a yid that would go to the Beis Hamikdash, all of the 3 regalim, could be he became a zav 5 times between one regal and the other, and he would wait. And when he would do adiyas l'regel, he would bring 10 pairs all together, as we'll see. If he didn't designate them when he bought them, elakulam, they are going to be called sesumais, undesignated. Now it's different. Now, if you have a chatos or a oila, if you have one that is designated, but if it got mixed in the undesignated, yesh lam dinam achedim. Now we're opening up. Dinam achedim means the rule will be the same. Guys, remember, if I have a kan sesuma, 2 birds, the moment again, it can only become designated when you buy them. I'm the owner, you're the kohen. I didn't designate them. I'm smart because they'll get mixed up. Everything will be wrong. But when I give it to the kohen, both, when he brings one, let's say he's going to do the chatas first, the other one now becomes an oil. At some point, the sesuma becomes mefayrash simply by doing the avoida. And don't forget, once you have designated chatas with a designated oil that are mixed together, afilu echad beriboy kulam yemusu. But if it got mixed prior to the designation, you can't say kulam yemusu. You can't say they can all be brought. And now we're going to begin unpackaging all of the different scenarios. Now, let's go. Im nisarva chatos b'choyvezu asesuma ein kasher ela minyan hachatois sheb'choyve bilvad. So let's start with this halacha. So let's say, Chevra, that a guy brings, Yakir, 5 unspecified kinim, 5 groups, 5 pairs, 10 birds, 10 birds. The kohen will bring 5 lachatos, 5 oil, but they're not specified. And this one chatos that is already specified gets mixed into the 10. Means you have 11 birds. Now we're going to unpackage later in this Pedic. We're going to go through slowly what happens if they belong to different people. We're going to address that in this chapter. But let's first leave it simple. Belongs to one person. How many birds can the kohen bring? So let me tell you what happens. From the 11 birds, he can take out 5, and he can bring them all lachatos. Why can he bring 5 lachatos? Because mimanavsha. If the 5 that he took were from the unspecified, then the kohen has the right, forget about before the mixture, to take 5 of the 10 and to bring them down. But don't forget, the moment he brings 5 down, what does that make? The remaining 5 are what? The remaining 5 now become oila. There was a bird that was a chatos, already designated, mixed now with the other 5. Once you have one type mixed in the other type, kulam yamusu. Now, it could be that when he took 5 and he brought it lamata, one of the 5 was the original chatos designated. It could be, and if that happened, then there's no mixture anymore. Because the one that was designated lachatos was brought lachatos, but you don't know that. Since you don't know that, you can only be certain by bringing 5 lachatos. Aval minyan ha'oila shebachayva. Im achatos shenesarva behem all are psulim because shehadei nesarva chatos ba'oilos. As we explained, even when you have a kansa suma, the moment you bring 5, the moment you bring one of the pair yakir, let's say you bring a chatos first. The moment the kohen takes from the unspecified pair 1 lachatos, the other one now becomes an oil. But the first 5, any 5 can be taken lachatas no matter what. That's okay. Let's go halacha gimel. Now lefikach. Now the Rambam is going to start giving numbers, and guys, as we'll go through these chapters, we'll become more familiarized with this. Im hoisa choy v'shtayim b'chatos. The Rambam wants to give another case. If the unspecified group yakir was at least twice as large as the number of the chatos. I'll give you an example. You have, what will be that case? 5 birds of a chatos, 5 birds that are chatos got mixed into 5 unspecified pairs. You have a total of 15 birds. 5 are chatos. You understand? The choiva was you have 5 chatos. And someone else was mechoiv to bring 5 pairs, which are 10 birds. But from the 10 birds, Yakir, how many are chatos? 5. As long as you have that ratio, you're good. Because when you take 5 and you offer them, if it's from the kansa suma, the kohen has the right to take from every pair 1 lachatos. Even if it is from the previously designated chatois, you're doing it lamata. You're doing it as long as the number of the chatois that were designated are not more than the half of the choiv, you're good.
You're not going with the probability of which one is which?
No. You have to go. If there's even a chance, that's why we began in the halacha aleph. If you have 1 chatas keva, 1 chatas designated in 1,000,000 oilas, kulam yamus. Kulam. If there's even a little doubt, maybe this is the other type, then you're messed up. You can only bring it as long as you know for sure that no matter what, you are allowed to bring this bird where you're bringing it. So what's going to happen? Chatzi hachoiva kosher v'chatzi pasul. That's it. Which chatziya yakir? Was am chayv yakir? I became a zav 5 times. Give you an example. Forget about the money. Your 5 chatois, you got 5 chatos. You fell into mine. What do I do? I gave to the kohen 10 birds. Now another 5 flew in. From the 10 that I gave him, only 5 are good. Which ones? The chatos ones. Now, another detail, when he brings the ones lamata, that I fulfill my obligation, that you fulfill obligation, we don't know that. We're going to deal with that later. But the kohen will bring 5 lamata. Now, the Rambam writes words that are very difficult. Says the Rambam, you have no idea how many people struggle with these words of the Rambam. Okay? Like the Ravid, beginning with the Ravid. Makes no sense. Because how did we begin this chapter by saying that the moment there's a possibility that this is either a chatos or an oila, you cannot bring it, not lamata, not lamayla. You're not allowed to do it. Because how can you bring a lamata? Might be an oila. How can you bring a lamayla? Might be a chatos. Now, to say that the Rambam means that shuhu oisa kulan, if kulan means half of the susumais, that's not v'yiroli, that's avada. That's for sure. That's not a chiddush of the Rambam. So the Kesef Mishnah, I'm just saying the words taka holds, that's taka the chiddush of the Rambam. That even though normally when a person brings a kan susuma, it has to be half bottom, half top, half chatos, half oilam, since he gave it to the kohen when they were still undesignated, and into it fell in 5 vade chatois, the Rambam says, in this case, you can take and bring them kulam lamata. But that's a big chiddush, if that's what the Rambam means, and we'll leave it at that. And we're going to have the same difficulty in the next halach. Okay. Now, guys, halacha dalit is going to be the same in the reverse. The same in the reverse means that if you have yakir, same thing. I'm going to constantly give different numbers just to become familiarized with this. You have an oila, you yakir, you have a bird oila. How was it designated oila? I don't care. Either you bought them, you designated, or because you brought a pair and the coin did one lamata that made your other bird oila. You have an oila. Could be I have an oila. Doesn't matter. We're not going into now. That I'm going to speak about that later. I am bringing now kan susumais. Same thing. Your oila flew into it. As long as we can still say miman nafshach. If this is your oila, it's lamayla. If the bird that the coin took out from this group is from my susumais, half of them can be brought lamayla. Half. No, it's if the one that fell in was an oila vadai, a designated oila, so then as long as what I'm doing lamayla is miman nafshach going to be good, only that can be done. But don't forget, for every bird I bring lamayla, its pair becomes a chatos. That's where you get stuck. Once all of them become chatos, then you have an oil and a chatos. Oil and a chatos can never be brought. Kolam yimusu. Chedem nesarva oil chavivas suma. Ein chashed elaming and oil shabachayva. Was if I brought guys three sets, means I brought 6 birds with 3 sets. From the 6 birds, 3 are oila. I got 3 oilas. Your oila flew into mine. How many can you bring? 3. Because either the 3 were all from mine, or it's 2 and mine and 1 from yours, but yours was an oila. But the numbers, I'm giving a case where there's a 7, right? Yeah, how do I get 7, Yakir? I got 3 pairs and you have 1. So I can only bring 3 lamayla, which means the other 4, the 4 of this 7 cannot be brought. Because once the kohen brings 3 lamayla, what happens? Vadai, the others, if the 3 that he took were from my sasumais, then all the other 3 of the sasumais are chatas. If he took 1 of yours, that's fine. That's fine. But he took 2 of mine. That means I have 2 chatois. I have 2 chatois. And one of them is if he took your oila, that means that what he did lamayla was only 2 of yours. So from what I have, what do I have in my mixture? And, that's the problem. And they are designated. And now they're mixed with each other. Yachap gavaldik. Sharei nisarva oila b'chatos. And like that, bein shahoysa hachoyva hasasuma meruba lo oila shenisarvu ba. Bein shahoya ha'oilas meruba malo choyva hasasuma ba. Bein shahoya shteim shavos. The rule will always be ein kasher elaminyan oila shabachoyva. Now, let me tell you what cannot happen. You know what cannot happen, Yakir? Let me just speak this out. Let's say, Yakir Halkov, I have 3 sets. I have 3 sets, which means I have how many birds? 6 birds. What happens if 10 of your oilers fly into mine? How many can I bring? Only 3. It's always going to be 3. Why only 3? Because if I'm going to bring 4, what might have happened? What might have happened? The moment, if we know Vadai, that when the coin he took only from yours, then everything is fine. I'll bring everything Lamaila. But the moment there's a possibility that he took one from mine and he did it Lamaila, what makes the other counter bird? A chatos. That's the problem. So once you have now a bird that could be a chatos and could be an oila, the first 3, if I brought 6 birds, 3 of them, Vadai is what? Oila, that's it. In other words, it's going to be according not to how many birds flew in. What's half of my set? Half of my set has to be La'oila. That's the only number that can be brought. No, we don't know which bird is which bird. Even if 100 flew one of your oilers, if I brought 3 unspecified from 3 unspecified sets, which are 6 birds, 3 of them is la'oila. The coin will take 3 and bring it la'mayla. Either it was yours or it's mine. But more than that, the moment he brings 4, what's the possibility? The possibility is that which one did he take? He took a chatas. How did he take a chatas? Because maybe the 3 that he brought were from mine. If the 3 that he brought were from mine, which makes the other 3 chatois. And you have oilers. So every bird is either this or that. It could be either this or that.
Who gets the credit?
Huh?
Who gets the credit for what?
Oh, well, I'll speak it out at the end of the chapter. The Rambam is so beautiful how we leave. Let's leave that for later. And by the way, even though I'm mentioning it's me and you, it doesn't have to be the way. It can be even for me and me. Forget about the money issue. Forget about what has to be done. Like what has to be done now. We're going to begin the next chapter. Just a heads up. One thing is very important. When I have a pair of birds, it's not like a shidduch. They're not intrinsically connected with each other. Forget about mixture. If I bring a set, if one of them dies, I don't have to bring another set. I just have to bring another bird to be meshadech zivuk shenig with the one that remained. So all these things are going to be rectified later. Now, who has to pay for it? We'll see in a moment. We'll speak it out in this chapter. Now, lefikach, as we spoke out on the halachi gimel, im hoisa hachoiva shtayim ba'olam. If choiva means, guys, the choiva here is the sesuma, right? The unspecified group that the guy is mechoyev to bring. If it was twice as large, which is perfect. Twice as large means that, let's say I get 3 birds of your oilers flew in, your oilers vadai, but I brought 6. Chatzi, choiva, kosher, v'chetzer, choiv. So from the my choiv, if I brought 6 birds, 3 can be brought. But what do they have to be brought as? As an oiler. No, in the case of Allah Chadalah. Now again, the Rambam writes the same words he wrote at the end of Allah Gimel. So again, the wrong way of understanding it is that the 3 are brought Lamaila. That's not the Yeroli. Of course, the 3 have to be brought Lamaila. The oilers flew in. Half of mine are oilers. That has to be done Lamaila. L'chayda, the Rambam is trying to say that in this case, you get to bring all of them Lamaila. Question is, how can you do that? Okay. Halacha hey. This is such a big kasha, even though you have to find it shaykh that there's a mistake in the girsa here. The Mishnah says that since the donor gave a kan susuma, he never gave them specified, even though half has to be lachatas, half have to be la'olam, you can bring them all a Anyways, let's leave that. You have to understand to appreciate how many were anguished in explaining this, and let's leave it as a tzarachian. Okay, I know that, but other than in halacha gimel and halacha dalet, going forward, we'll never have such a thing again. We're always going to go back to the beginning of halacha aleph that when a chata so'oif gets mixed with oila so'oif, afilu achas beriboy kulam yemusu. That will be the whole premise of everything that we're learning. A new case. Halacha hey, choiva sesuma. Now, v'choiva acheres sesuma. New scenario. Two groups. And I'm gonna be using Rachel and Leah because that's the way when we learned over there in Masechtas Kirim, that's the example that we used. Okay? Bein shahoyu shtei mishem echad. Let's say Rachel and Leah, they both gave birth. Kigoin kinei zavim, or mishnei shemos kinei zavim and kinei yoldos. I don't care what was machayev the pairs. Whether these two unspecified groups belong to one person, whether they belong to two people. Okay, so since we're covering all scenarios, from going forward, I'm going to always speak about Rachel and Leah. Okay, and I want to give an example. Im shteim shavais would mean each one brought two sets. Each one brought two sets is 4 birds. So you have a total of 8 birds. Let's go 4 of those birds belongs to Rachel, but from those 4 birds, 2 of them should be Lamaila, 2 Lamata, and 2 belongs to Leah, 2 Lamaila, 2 Lamata. Now, when they're all mixed together, let me just speak out the challenge. Maybe we should have started a bit early. What's the challenge here? It's very simple. The kohen who takes one out, if he takes 2 out, and he would bring them Lamaila. Problem is, when he does that, what does he render their counter to? Chatois. So what's the most that the kohen can bring? The most that he can bring is 4, and Taka do 2 Lamaila, 2 Lamata, because then Mimanav Shach he's doing good. Once he does more than doing, now he does Shtayim Lamaila, Shtayim Lamata. What's that? That's called Mechza Kosher or Mechza Pas. Why is that? Because the moment he takes up more than 2, you see, if he would have known that the 2 that he took was from Rachel, and he would know which other 2 belongs to Leah, then he can do 4 Lamaila. Doesn't know that. Maybe the third belongs to Leah, maybe. But maybe the third belongs to Rachel. If the third belongs to Rachel, if the 2 that he did Lamaila belong to Rachel, then the other 2 that belongs to Rachel has to be done Lamata. He doesn't know. He has to stop. Now, when he brings 2 Lamaila, 2 Lamata, forget about who fulfilled their obligation. We're going to speak about that later. That for sure is okay.
Now, but do you mean 2 sets or 2 single ones?
I'm saying that 2 sets. Rachel brought 2 sets. That means she brought 4 birds. Leah brought 2 sets, which is 4 birds. Now you have 8 birds.
Right. Can you specify when you say sets, please? I'm getting confused.
Every set is a pair of 2 birds.
No. I'm just saying, just say it when you're saying like 2, say sets afterwards.
2 sets. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay. Now, if the sets were the same number, like we said, half and half. Now, another nuance. Everything is beautiful. The best thing would have been for the kohen to ask, what should I do? What happens if he didn't ask? Another thing, which means he for sure did something wrong. And let's say he brought hakoy lamaila, hakoy lamata, or if he did chetzia lamaila v'chetzia lamata. In all of these cases, mechza kosher or mechza pasol. Now, well, let's speak out. Let's the Rambam will himself speak out. When the birds got mixed up, I know that we don't know who is who. But what is the din? Hakoil, chetzion oilo, v'chetzion chatas. It was meant to be that way. And the chatas lamata v'yelamayla. So if he did hakoil lamayla, he for sure brought yakir, everyone's birds. And from everyone, each one of them needed taka to bring half lamaila. So everyone got their oilers fulfilled. Was he allowed to do it? Of course not. Of course not. If he brings 8 birds lamaila, what did the kohen do? He brought 4 birds. He didn't avoid it that you're not allowed to do. But he did it. If he did them all lamata, so chetzyon meaning that each of these women, if they belong to 2 different women, each one got their chatas covered. Now let me go further. What happens if this kohen, without asking, he's an amaretz, he has 8 birds. He asked, 8 birds, they came from 2 different people. Say that. He picked random. Awesome. Chetzia lamata v'chetzia lamayla. So now let's halka. Only hachatzi she'asa lamayla kosh. Now, who fulfilled their obligation? I don't know that. 2 out of the 8. He did half lamai, he did 4. 2, vadai good. Why not 3 vadai good? Tell you why. Because if the third was from the same woman, if the 2 belong to Rachel and the third Weiter is Rachel's. Once he did Rachel's 2 in one, the other one has to be done in the other location. You can't have more than Chatzi Chatzi. But Chatzi Chatzi Mimalav Shach is good. Either it's from the same woman or it's from 2 different women. And Vachatzi Achati Shalamata Weiter Kosher Vu Vuachato Ois. Now, let's go weiter. See, that was easy in halacha hey. You know why? Because we spoke about 2 women. I'm going to go with 2 different owners, even though it makes no difference with the same owner. And the 2 sesumos that got mixed were the same number. We gave an example that each one had 2 sets of 2. Each one had 4 birds, 8. What happens if Rachel and Leah, Yakir, but then each one came with a different number and they got all mixed up? Oh, that's halacha vav. Ho yoshtei choyvos hasesumos. Rachel and Leah. Each one, doesn't matter whether they're bringing because they were a Yoldis, whether they were a Zava, I don't care why. Okay, but each one was chayv to bring various. And they got mixed, but zu gedoyla mizu. For example, Achas, one, I'm going to say the one Rachel. That's the way we learned the Gemara. Rachel came before Leah, even though Leah was old. Rachel brought 4 birds, and for Kevan, that means 2 sets, 2 chiyuvim, 4 birds, and the Shnia and Leah brought 6. It means now you have a total of 10 birds, but it's not half and half. It's 4 and 6. Now, if the Kohen didn't ask again, if he did Hakoy Lamaila, or if he did Hakoy Lamata, what was the bottom line, guys? The bottom line is Mechza Pasal or Mechza Kosher? We already explained that. Mechza means, what does Mechza mean? If he did them all Lamaila, we know for a fact from the 10 birds, how many of them have to be an oila? 5. Now, that he brought 5 birds wrongfully, we know that, but he did that. If he did hakolamata, so 5 are good. Bitam shabiyan, that's easy. But what happens? See, before we had at the end of halacha hey, he did what happened now was the most likely for a coin that's an amaretz. Because all the Kohen knows is, okay, from birds, I know the rule. Half chatus, half oil. So he brought chetzion lamata v'chetzion lamata. So in the end of halacha hey, what did we have? We had chatzi achatzi lamayla kosher, chatzi achatzi lamata kosher. What about over here? So here it is. Im achar sheshol asakain. He asked first what to do, and he did what he was told to do. What would he be? That's the way we're going to learn. They cannot tell him the process at all. Let's go, guys. What's the smaller number here? Rachel, right? How many birds did Rachel bring? Guys, 4. From Rachel's 4 birds, where do they belong? 2 above, 2 below. All they'll tell, if they would ask the kohen or the basin, they would say, take from the mixture 4, guys, held cup, and do 2 lamayla v 2 lamata. I don't know if all of these 4 belong to Rachel, but for sure, from the 10, 2 can go lamayla and 2 can go lamata. Because even if, all of the smaller number that you are going to take out, even if it belongs to the same woman, you can do achas lamayla, you can do half above, half above. The moment, if he would tell,
if you hadn't asked, everything would have been okay, right?
We'll see. Then more would have been okay. Well, not more. Always that way. Very good. Because what we're saying, if he asks, they would tell him from the 10 you can only salvage 4. If he would have brought everything lamayla, we already learned, then 5 of them would have been good, because 5 of them are la'oila. Oh, but let's go. If he did half and half, we'll get to them all. So if he's going to ask, then what they can tell him is hamuat discussion. What means take out from the mixture 4. Now again, Yakir, if the 4 that you took out belong to a different woman, even better. But even if it belonged to the same person, see, you can't take out 5. Why can't you not take out 5? I cannot take out 5 because Rachel has 2. That has to go lamayla. If he's going to bring even one other lamayla, if that other one is belonging to Leah, he did good. But maybe that 3rd is weiter Rachel's. but the Rachel already brought 2 Lamaila. That third has to be brought Lamata. Now, the Imidata also, if he did it on his own, what's on his own meaning? He brought half above, half below. What's going to happen? Hamaruba kosher. How many birds are going to be kosher? 6 are going to be kosher. Why are 6 going to be kosher? Why are 6 going to be kosher? 3 Lamaila and 3 Lamata, because he brought all of them. If he brought all of them, the ones that belong to Rachel are messed up. But if he brought all of them, meaning 5 above, 5 below, 3 of them are going to be kosher. Listen, either all 3 belong to Leah Vadagut. Even if 2 was Rachel's, but one of them for sure is Leah's. He brought, when he brought 5 Lamaila, if he did them all, he's zicher, he could be, he put Rachel's Lamaila. I know that. But at least one of Leah's was good. If he brought them all. So at the end, it turns out that from what he brought, I'm not saying who fulfilled their obligation. That's another topic. But the larger number would be good, but we can't go more than 6. We cannot go more than 6 because there's a possibility, but that by on the 7th was wrong. Because what should have been brought from Leah, Lamata was brought Lamaila. Zicher from Rachel, what should have brought Lama was brought Lamaila. But up until 3 and 3, Vadai, from the 10, 3 and 3 are good. That's a Gaval. And the halacha is Zaklau. Kol she'asa koin midatoi. He didn't ask. Chetzi Lamaila v'chetzi Lamata. No, Yakir, he brought all of them. What are you telling me? For sure, from each one came Lamaila Lamata, for sure. 6 of the birds in our example will be kosher. As we explained, even though some were not fit to be brought. In other words, the entire larger number, which is Yakir, Leah's in our example, the 6 will be kosher out of the 10. That next case, halacha ches. 2 people brought the birds. They brought them all together. Or they didn't even buy the birds. Sasum, they didn't specify. They gave the money to the kohen. And they tell the kohen, me, Rachel, and Leah come together. I'm chayiv to bring, you're chayiv to bring. Each one only had 1 baby, 2 birds each. We gave money for 4 birds. And we told them, that's good, that's okay. In other words, now that you see how complicated things get when things are specified, that Rambam is saying that you don't have to specify when you buy it. We already spoke it out. She'ein hakinim isparshim. Birds only become designated either when you buy it, and if you designate it when you buy it, oy vayvo, you have to make sure they don't get mixed. Even in your own birds, you can get mixed. Oy basiyas hakoyin, kamay shebiyard.
Why not have a rule that says you can't designate anything? So you get to the Kohen.
Why wouldn't you do it? Because maybe God is hoping for us to have common sense. Maybe Hashem gives us options. Like you want to make your life complicated, knock yourself out. I don't know. Halachat is. Now, some and some. Stop. No. If he has 10 birds, and if he has chatas and oil birds, and he does shteyem lamaylo, if he does both of the chatas and the oil lamaylo yakir and shteyem lamata, which he shouldn't have done, yes chetzi, it means he should have done achas lamaylo achas. He did them both lamaylo lamata mechza kosher mechza pas. But what happens if also chetzi lamaylo v'chetzi lamata? You know what can be, Yakir? If the birds were designated, he has 4 birds. 2 of them are already chatas, 2 are oila. If he, not knowing what they are, goes half above, half below, what will be the din? No obligation was fulfilled, because it could be otazoi. It could be he mixed them around. This is really the yisoid of the whole chapter. In other words, we can only do when mimanav shachet's good, because if there's a suffix, you did not fulfill your obligation. And maybe we say that ha'oilas heim she'asa lamata v'chatois lamayla. Next case, halacha yud. You have through groups of doves, which is really doves, guys. Remember, it's either toidim or bnei yoino, and echad chatos. One group is only chatos. One group is only oila. Let's go just to make things simple, Yakir. Let's make things simple. I'll say one and one. I'll say one woman brought two birds. A group in our case is separate. Group doesn't mean numbers. I'm giving you just as an example. One woman, Rachel, is chayiv for one baby to bring two birds. She designated chatos and oila. So the kohen was given a chatos belonging to Rachel. The other, he was given one bird. It can be just one bird belonging to Rachel la'oila. And then from Leah, I'm giving just an example. Leah brings to the kohen two birds that Leah did not designate. Meaning the kohen knows chetzia oilos v'chetzia chatos. But in this second group, v'loy perishu, comes along the kohen without asking, or all of the birds that he got, all of the birds, or all the mata, mechza kosher or mechza pasul. Why mechza kosher or mechza pasul, guys? In my case, how many birds did I gave? I gave over here 4 birds, not 4 sets for keva. From Rachel, 1 chatos, 1 oila. From Leah, 2 birds. Now, what did we say in halacha tes? When Rachel gave an oila and a chatos designated, if he brought them without knowing which one he brought where, we're going to go l'chumra. Only the unspecified group does the kohen get the right to pick which one goes lamayla, which one goes lamata. So if he does half and half, he brought 4 birds. How many of the 4 birds are good? Only 2. Now, we don't know, did he bring the 2 that are good, were they all from Leah? So Leah is completely covered and Rachel is not covered. Now we're going to speak about that. Maybe, boom, the one that he brought, see, the one lamata mimadavsha. The one lamata, he brought 2 lamata. But one of them, only one was Rachel's. Rachel only had 1 chatos. If he brought Rachel's chatos, that should have been done lamata, lamayla. If the one that he brought from Rachel, the oila lamata, that's not good. But one will be good. Now, it could be the one that's good is from Leah's unspecified. It could be the one that was good was from, it could actually be, it could be that both were good. We don't know that. Vadai, only 2 are good. Now, what do we say? Yakir? Ein hakosher ela sosam levad. Who for sure got their obligation fulfilled? Who for sure? Leah. Because since Leah brought the sasum, he brought all of the birds. So for sure, from the birds, he had from Leah. And the kohen taka had the right to do from Leah's 1 down, 1 up. For who? Now, one second. Now, what about the Rachel? Like, guys, we're not saying that the Rachel over here for sure didn't get her obligation. But could be, since Rachel designated it, halacha tes, we have to be machmir. Now comes the final question. Final question is, and that's the Rambam's going to address it now for the whole chapter and for the next chapters. By money, their general rule is, guys, remember this, hamoitzim echaveri olavaraya. You know when we say that hamoitzim echaveri olavaraya? When someone is muchzak. Whenever the birds are given to the kohen to do the avodah, even if the kohen is holding the birds from many different people, none of them are the muchzak. So in all of the cases where we know halachically some of the birds were good, some of the birds were not good, we don't know, Yakir, whose birds are not good. If we have that scenario, who, then the rule is, and whoever has a suffix is going to have to rebring it. Who will have to rebring it? Everyone equally. That's the big simple klal. V'hu mischalek bein haba'olim v'oila l'shneihem. In other words, all of the ones that might, there's no muchzik here. Shaharei hakoyin ain't there la'ezem hem pedish. Ulam is asas. U'shnei atziburim hamifirashim. We know our psulim. Shaharei lo yoda eza asam hem l'maylo v'zonat. V'shema ha'oila nasas l'mata v'achatas l'maylo. It's mamish gewaldig. I'll tell you more. I'll tell you another detail. What were to happen in the case of halacha yud? It's not that when Rachel gave the birds, Rachel gave chatas and oil. No, the kohen designated one lachatas, one oil. He doesn't know from whom. That will be even better. That will be so he doesn't know. In other words, one of the women, the pair that remained sasum vaday good, the pair that was pre-designated. The pair that was pre-designated, even though it could be it was good, be paskend, it's not good. Because maybe they did it in reverse. If we don't know which one had the sus and which one had the mefaydish, we don't say there's no muchzik here. So what will have to happen in our case that there were 4 birds, 2 birds will have to be brought again. We don't know for whom, who has to pay for it, half Rachel, half Leah. And that's the whole vart of Allah Ches. And they go over to the Kohen, they tell the Kohen, listen here, there are 2 birds from our group. We brought 2 sets. One set, Kevan, is not good. We don't know whose set. It could actually be. We don't know. So we're both bringing it, and you bring it for whoever is mechuyev to bring it, they'll cover the bases. That's the beauty. In other words, you can rectify it very simple, and actually that will be the beginning of Perek Shi that will continue later. That like you mentioned, when you have 2 birds, chatas, a set. Even if they were designated and one of them flew away, you didn't ruin the one that you brought or the one that you have. Only you have to just make a new set by bringing only 1 bird, which facilitates the solution whenever there is a solution. God willing to be continued.
Oh, if the Kohen made this mistake, he pays for it? If he did,
Oh, that's another thing. If the Kohen made the mistake,
personally, or does he pay from the Beit HaMikdash?
Remember this, Kevan. After, let's remember. Kohen made the mistake. One thing we learn right now, which is amazing, that if the Kohen doesn't ask, and he does half and half, remember in that case that Rachel brought 4 and Leah brought 6, he actually did them a favor.
Right.
Because then the bigger number is good.
That's the only case.
Okay, guys, tomorrow we will start a bit earlier. We're not going to have to start 5:30, but we'll learn 2 chapters.
Thank you.
Okay.